And welcome everyone to another special edition of Unexplained Cases Live. You've got myself, Rick Garner, you've got Darren, Dedo, you've got Maryam the Medium, and we have a special guest tonight, as we always like to have special guests.
They're always special, yes.
You know, he's a little extra special because his middle name is Ghost, or his nickname is Ghost. You know, we didn't get a chance to acknowledge that, basically. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, just a nickname.
Just a nickname. Well, you know, I'm sure we're going to get into all of that because we're actually going to kind of switch things up a little bit tonight. Everyone's
going to get wacky.
We're just going to get wacky. We're going to just do a flip-de-doo. We're used to basically kicking things off with Mr. Dedo interrogating our guests at the top, but we decided to get silly tonight, basically, and we're going to go straight into the remote view. Now, this one's a little bit different in the sense that, Greg, when we've been talking, kind of all of this, we're used to these remote viewing sessions revolving around a location, a bit of property, maybe some land. In this case, it really kind of starts with an object that's referred to as, what's our nickname, sir?
Well, it's the Cold Princess.
The Cold Princess.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
So one could hear that and immediately be thinking like, wait a minute, is that a person? It's like, well, actually, it's an object.
That's my ex-wife.
I'm
just kidding. I'm married still. I just had to. Sorry.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And in scene. No. So I figured that basically we'll kind of set the stage of what happened. Typically, you know, this is where Maryam has some questions for Darren. I figure the two of you are going to kind of set the stage on this and figure out the backstory of the Cold Princess right there. So, hey, we're just going to get silly and get right into things. But before we do that, hey, Aaron, Kathy, Mary, Skeleton Crew's in the house, Jessica, Joy,
Emily, Brenda, looks like.
Emily, Brenda, we got a whole bunch of folks. Welcome, everybody, to the program. So, hey, everybody, be sure and keep your hands and feet in the cart at all times.
That's right. Enjoy the ride. So this is pretty cool, Greg. So we're going to talk about, I guess you were, 13 years old. It was 1976. I remember when I was a kid running around with all my buddies, kind of getting into places that we weren't supposed to. Just take us back. What happened? You guys were kind of out on an adventure that day, and man, what did you stumble into?
Yeah, I mean, we were the Lost Boys basically, and
Nice.
I was probably the closest thing to Peter Pan you're ever going to meet, and we pretty much ran Burbank as a group of guys, and we were cruising down on our bikes, and it was, I can't say the exact date. It's early July because I just come back from Boise, Idaho, visiting my grandparents, and yeah, it was 1976, and we're cruising by, and sure enough, there's an abandoned house, or we think abandoned, it's boarded up, and one of the boards were pulled off. So we did exactly what guys do, right? We all went in there, and there were about 6 of us. My brother, Kenny, Dave, Brett, and Mike, and I think that was it. And we climbed through this window, okay? And inside this room, there was, now remember, I was 13, so I didn't really know what this stuff was. We had paranormal experiences. However, nothing weird like this. We go into this room and there's like I'm thinking a pentagram, okay?
Oh, wow.
On the floor, and it was like flower shape, made out of flour on the floor. And on the walls, there was some red writing, and it was gibberish to me. The only thing I cared about was there was a replica German Luger pellet gun on the ground inside this this little circle. And there was this dagger. And around the room, there were a bunch of newspapers strewn about and candles. And there was a candle that was flipped upside down in between the gun and the dagger. My brother quickly grabbed that gun, and my older brother, and he pushed us all around. He quickly grabbed that gun, and my friend Kenny grabbed the dagger. And I was like, darn, I wanted that thing. And we left the place. We didn't know anything about it. It was weird, right? But we left and off we went. We rode home. And we all lived very close to each other. Kind of in a poor part of Burbank, with triplexes. So we were all together. We were brothers. And so anyway, David, Kenny's older brother, says, Kenny, you can't bring that in the house. Mom will ground you for a month if she finds it. And I immediately said, well, give it to me. Give it to me. And he reluctantly did. And I've had it ever since.
No, really?
So here's the thing. And I have no idea why I had it ever since. And it was only after my Ghost Adventures experience in Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum that things started to come to life with this thing. And I was in a dream, and I've never had anything like this happen before, but in a dream, I was basically told her name. And I was told the Cult Prinzessin. Now, I don't speak German, but I just figured, okay, what is that language? And I figured that was German. So I went and I ran it through, the translation, and I found out that it was called the Cold Princess. But I was told something else in this dream. And like I said, Maryam, I've never had anything like this happen before. It said that she is the most beautiful and she is better than all the others. Wow. And that was it. I was given a name and that. And when I woke up, I was extremely impressed by this dream. And then I went and did this research. And there's the craziness to this story is having just been around the Ghost Adventures crew and around Zak Bagans and all of them. There was my daughter, she says to me, hey, Dad, it's Zak Bagans' birthday. And it was like April 5th, I think, something like that, or the 4th. Uh-huh. And I realized that was 9 months after I found this dagger. And so my question there was, could I have found that dagger on the very day that this guy was conceived? And I know that's crazy talk, okay? Whoa. But everything seems to just, all of my experience has been filled with interesting coincidences. So it leads me to wonder why I held on to this dagger for so long. And my question is, have I just simply been its caretaker? That's what I want to know. Because it's always been important. It's always been kept safe. And we've had experiences come from this thing.
What, like what?
Okay, well, the first thing that happened, and nothing had happened since then. My brother was reaching in my drawer when we were kids, and he pricked his finger on it, and he hallucinated, and he saw a woman in a white gown.
Oh my gosh.
And it lasted for, he says, for a little while. And then, and he bled and he went and got cleaned up. He's never had an LSD trip, but he feels like if that was what it was, that's exactly what this was like. And then, like I said, then I had it stored in a Moosehead beer crate. And used to love Moosehead beer. I don't even know if you can find it.
Great beer.
but anyway, it was stored in there with all my other mementos, right? But it was always kept safe. And after some of these things were happening, I brought it back out. And it's funny because I actually gave it to my nephew, and I was so worried I made him give it back. And he did. And I'll tell you the craziest thing is over the last year and a half, 2 times, my wife thinks that this thing tried to kill her. Now, let me explain. There was it was still in its box. It was a bed frame that I had propped up pretty good. And it came slamming down when she got out of her car and she had to duck out of the way or it would have hit her right on the head. And within about a month later, our garage door broke, slamming right down on our brand new Audi A6.
Oh,
and
beautiful car.
Not too much damage, but when she called me, and her words to me is, "That knife is trying to kill me. You get it out of here." And I thought, and this is somebody who is very, very, she has nothing to do with anything I have to do with paranormal things. Nothing at all. She wants nothing to do with it. She has no interest whatsoever. And that statement came out of her mouth. And I was really shocked that she made that statement. Somebody who completely poo-poos all of this stuff. And I found that really interesting.
What is it? I know we can't see it right now, but what is it? Can you describe to us what it looks like or any kind of detail? Oh, there it is right there. Okay.
Yeah, there's a picture. And that's exactly how
Can I interrupt really quick? Hey, Greg, do you can you text Rick? Do you happen to have a picture of your wife you could text Rick that he could send me?
Yeah, let me find one.
And her full name, if you could text that to him, then he can send that to me. Oh, Rick, I think you have to email it because I'm on my phone.
Hey, while you're doing that, Greg, just from eyeballing it, how old do you think that dagger is?
Okay, well, a buddy of mine is kind of an expert on World War II
blades and things like that.
Well, the German army, basically.
Yeah,
and he says it's pre-1943, and he believes that it's the type of dagger that would have been given to a German officer as he was going as a gift as he was going off to war, it's not a Nazi insignia knife that the German army would distribute. It was like it's the type of knife that was a gift.
I see.
And interestingly, maybe Rick can bring up that picture too. That knife has a notch in it, like it had like one kill.
Like on the handle?
Yes, on the handle.
Okay.
And so the guess is, you see it there? So the guess is that this knife was probably taken off of a German officer when he was killed, and it was brought back to the States.
And it ends up in a house in Burbank, California.
And it ends up in a house in Burbank, California.
Crazy story.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So Greg, did get that picture to Rick?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to
shush so he can do that.
Okay.
Or talk to me.
No, now that you've been mean to me, I'm not going to talk to you at all. Screw you, Maryam. What?
Okay,
So
children.
Hey, it's been a long day. No, but I mean, how are you when you do a remote viewing? This is, we always do these like famous locations. Maybe it's a cemetery, but this is an abandoned home, and we really don't know much about it. And it's from 1976. Will you do anything different as far as a remote viewing tonight? You're going to work on the knife or the pictures of his wife? How will you put this all together?
I have no freaking idea. No.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, hey, guys, it's 8:15. It's been wonderful. Greg, you seem like a nice guy. Maybe we'll talk to you in the future sometime.
This is uncharted territory. And then
is this the witty banter that's supposed to happen at the beginning of the show? I didn't see that in the script.
No, what all I need, because I know the audience is going to start sending in all their I see that, which is great, but a lot of you guys in the audience tend to see stuff I don't see, which I think is awesome. It makes the story even better. But I have to I need a trigger, and that's why I'm asking for the wife, because obviously she was the victim.
Okay, she would hate me to send this picture, so whatever we do, don't put it up.
No, I'll delete it. No one's going to see it.
Yeah.
Did they tear down the house? Do we have a picture of the house?
The house is still there.
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
And it's someone lives there now, right?
Yes. And here's and a cool thing was there's a woman that lived across the street, and we called her the cat lady. And that's how I know where it was. She had dozens and dozens of cats, and she also had monkeys in the back in cages. So I'm trying to find this location, and my brother says it's on Fairview. Oh, can't say that. Oops. My brother says what street it's on, and I said, no, it's on this street. He says, no, it's on this street. So I'm over there and my son's with me. And he says, well, Dad, look at that. And sure enough, it was a wrought iron gate with a black cat, wrought iron black cat. And I said, son of a gun, that's the place. And then a woman pulled up and I said, there was a woman that used to live there, right? And she had many, many cats. And she said, yes, her name was blah. She passed away some years ago and blah, blah, blah. So I knew, boom, that's the house across the street. So I knew right then.
Wow.
I went and I had to research this, you know. Okay, so I'm going to send this right now.
Darren, you threw him off.
I'm just sending just a picture.
Hey, we're not even squatching yet.
And her name, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to add.
It's okay.
Okay, here it comes. And I got to go here. And
how's your tummy, Darren?
Not great. I don't know what's going on. Man, rough time. Rough time. We're gutting it out tonight. No pun intended.
No need to elaborate.
Sorry,
my God. Between your COVID and my bad enchiladas or something, I don't know what's going on.
You always have stomach problems. I'm telling you.
I'm so stressed out about this show that I just can't handle it. It's just like, I'm
just
intimidated by you.
And I sent her full name.
Okay,
All
so
right.
I'm going to send that second because I'm assuming you sent that second. Little note, we have a little bit of a surprise action going on behind the scenes in the green room. So, of course, Angela, I'm just going to say, if you get a picture out of any of this, I will be impressed, basically, and curious at the same time.
Darren with enchiladas and a blade.
Sitting on a toilet?
And
yes, exactly. Yeah. In an abandoned house in Burbank.
The cold princess has never been so.
Exactly.
All right, here we go. Oh, crap. I clicked on. This is when you know you're old. You're like, what did I just click on? All right, hold on. Okay. And did you send her name, Rick?
That's coming right now. That's coming right now.
Rick, did you send her name?
She's very demanding tonight, Rick. I don't know. She's very short.
Hey, I was on time.
I don't want to talk about her height either.
Shows today, so I'm on my game, people. Okay. All right. So I'm going to need a moment of silence for me to figure out what the F is going on right now with this knife and your poor wife and geesh. All right. Here we go. Sorry, it's Daisy being Daisy. All right. Come on. Okay, I have her picture. Where I thought did you send her name?
Looks like we're looking at a picture of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I forwarded that. It was separate because he added that second.
It's this. I got the same thing twice.
Yeah, but the second one
there it
the
is.
name.
Wow, sorry. This is good TV, right? Okay. Sorry. All right, here we go. Ready? Go. Okay. All right, this woman. Not your wife. This woman that's attached to this knife. Listen, I'm not I'm always skeptical of objects having attachments. I know they can. I know it's possible. I'm just saying that I'm always skeptical. I preface it with that because I see this woman. I do not like this.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. I gotta let my dog out of the room for this. He can't be here. He's too vulnerable. What's funny is he's always Oliver, as silly and young as he is to this karmic life. Whenever there's a dark end, like super dark, he's already at the door. He knows, man. He's smart. Okay. I'm gonna try and deal with this woman here. I honestly don't even know if I'm gonna have a conversation. I might just get her out. Okay. Hold on. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm calling in for some backup. What's going on here, guys? Like, what's, hold on, what's happening? Who is this? Why is this? All right, I'm getting I'm a little thrown off center here. So she she is attached to this knife. She is for lack of better words, I'm just going to kind of articulate what I think is being said. She's like the like Queen of Death, or called in of death. She's called on when it's time to kill. I mean, hence the death title. She was brought in there is some solidification. Is that a word I just made up? German. The question is, these German soldiers were not capable of calling her in. So how did you come about? And then how did you latch on to this army of or this man, or like this group of people that were utilizing, because this knife has passed through many hands, obviously. But it was used very often during war.
Real quick, let me just ask you. So this individual that you're connecting with was an actual person at one time and touched the knife, or
no,
it's a spirit that's connected to the knife?
It's a spirit that's been that was called in.
Yeah.
What I'm not understand, this masculine energy didn't have the ability to call her in, so someone else called her in. I'm being brought way back. Hang on. This is really sketchy. I'm going to keep saying this because I'm not really sure how long I'm supposed to even be engaging with her. I wouldn't keep this piece. I would not recommend that you keep it. Your wife was correct in what she felt. It's just that this knife has been used over and over and over and over and over successfully to harm others, if not kill others. And she was called in pre-war that somebody who had the capability to call her in, and then she stayed. And so the men that eventually had the knife, like, she follows around the knife, which is what you guys thought, and it's what she does, but she doesn't have the, it's like she was called in and then was supposed to be gone, and instead she stayed. She shouldn't have been called in the first place, obviously, back in whenever this happened. But she was, and she stayed, and she was supposed to leave. She was supposed to come in, do one job, and then leave, but she stayed. And now she's trying to taunt me and scare me. and I'm not gonna lie, she's pretty strong.
Was she part of any type of a ritual in that home? Because remember, Greg said there was the.
It's not the home. It's
Okay,
not
so-
the home. She came
Okay.
way before all that.
Okay. I didn't know if she was somebody used something with her energy or power for a ritual inside that home.
Yeah, well,
She would be, yeah.
yes. Yes, she is wherever the knife is. So yes, I'm sorry, Darren. I mean, she's not part of the home. She's part of the knife. So wherever the knife seems to travel, she goes, and she brings. She's very dark, and it's not something that anyone should have in their possession. Just purely out of safety reasons. She's not something that you mess around with and test. You don't test her.
And any way to know how many people maybe have been harmed or killed by the knife?
Hundreds.
Hundreds? Oh, good Lord.
My word.
There's actually a barrier in between me and her that I didn't put up, that was put up, obviously for my protection. And so, because I'm not going to dive into this energy by any means, but I'll communicate.
This might be too far outside the box, but since the kids were, back then kind of messing around, hey, let's take a look at that. Did this entity draw the boys in there to find the knife?
She could. I mean, excuse me. Yeah. She's very interesting. She will. It's like, it reminds me of like a genie, and only in the bad way.
Yeah, keep it in the bottle.
Right. But meaning, if you ask, if you bring me out, and if you ask, I will work for you.
Oh, yikes.
And because of that, if you aren't aware of how to bring her out, there is, I mean, it's dangerous, but I don't know. She's not luring people to her. She is more, she's like, it's like this, the silent ones that you want to be scared of, not the ones that are, saying, oh, I'll do this and I'll do that. And, and big and scary and scaring people and grabbing them as they walk by. She's just silent. And it's just like, what do you want me to do? I do it. It's creepy.
So, speaking of creepy, it would now be a good time to see what Angela has come up with.
Our psychic artist, Angela.
Drum
Are
roll,
you
please.
asking or telling? Oh, I was like, you asking?
Holy God almighty, what is that looking thing?
God
Hair on fire and
almighty.
everything.
Well, I got, that's a very, even when you were talking, I got her impression of this woman even while you were talking, even before I saw the knife, long before I saw the knife. She's definitely, but I'm getting the impression that she's almost, I'm getting the impression that whoever drew upon her kind of summoned her from mythology.
Mhm.
It had the mythology, particularly on Viking mythology, the goddess Hela, known as Hel, where we got our word hell from, Hela. They were kind of looking to that type of energy to invoke, and then she showed up, and she is a conscious entity, her own entity,
Okay.
a rather destructive force, but she likes to associate herself with mythology, like maybe like the Celtic equivalent would be like the Morrigan, kind of goddess of death, war and death, with that kind of mystique around her. She likes to keep that, she likes to draw upon that and kind of use that stylistically to So if anybody is trying to provoke her, they would call upon the old gods and goddesses, particularly the Viking and Norse mythology, Hela, the goddess of death, and Hel, actually, I think her name is Hel, the goddess of death in Viking Norse mythology. But if I recall my history right, I know that some of the Germans kind of glorified that to some extent, because they did incorporate some of Norse symbols into their the swastika, actually. So she, and of course the Valkyries, that type of, it's that kind of feeling, and she's like a silent killer, man. She sets a goal and she goes for it. But she is not something to, like I have, for example, I have a female demonic attachment to one of my objects in the stall that I keep, and I don't share the stall, give it out, because I'm afraid of what that entity will do. And then you're kind of in a similar situation with this knife. What you could do, potentially, you could potentially bury it, have a little ceremony and bury it. Put crystals around it. Like I put crystals around my doll, and it sort of drained off a lot of that negativity. But this one, she builds energy and she just waits for it, and she lashes out. Really intense.
So if you notice the box that she's in, I looked long and hard for that box, and I found it in my 81-year-old mom's home, and it's an antique box that she picked up from an antique store 60 years ago, and it is I refer to it as the ghost catch, because since the knife has been in there, there seems to be a sense of calm when it's locked in there. Now, have I thought about, taking it? Yeah, I mean, I have exposed it and closed it and exposed it in times, but it seems that it is comfortable in the ghost catch box that I have here. And interestingly, like you said, yeah, you could bury it, because I feel like this whole time, I feel strongly that it isn't even mine.
Right.
That I'm just simply the guardian of this thing.
Right.
A caretaker.
Yeah, for whoever's supposed to come. And I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is something that anyone should be dealing with. And this is one of those examples where I think, you had your experience, Greg, because you are being asked to learn, dig deeper, realize your own intuition, realize what you are capable of, that you can see and hear things and feel things. And but ultimately, this is not something that anyone should be in possession of, and this entity isn't anything anyone should have access to. And this is where people run into problems when they're dealing with stuff that they shouldn't be dealing with. I'm not referencing you, but
no, I appreciate that.
I don't want to dismiss I feel like your feeling of possession over it is because you feel the spirit that is attached to it. But I feel like the truth is the spirit needs to be removed from the device, and then the device put away, thrown, whatever. And like what Angela said, obviously
bury it.
But the possessiveness, that feeling like you're the caretaker of some sorts, is because, like the reference I was given, a genie in a bottle, a genie is waiting for someone to call on her. A genie is just sitting there waiting. And as long as you're in possession of it, she's seeing you as crazy as this sounds, as like the master, and she's waiting for you to call on her. And even though that sounds insane, I would never second guess anything I'm ever told. And this isn't something that you should be in possession of, and this isn't a power that you should have. You'll end up in jail because of it, because she'll do something and it will,
It'll go back. They'll tie it back to him that like somebody got harmed or killed. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, let me take a minute and see what, now that I have Angela's visual, because Angela's always right on, and that visual was definitely right on. I just don't want to engage with her. And when there's, a barrier that's been put between us that someone else put there to protect, I don't want to engage. Someone needs to put the genie back in the bottle, and it's not going to be me, because I don't want to engage with her. I would never ask anyone in the audience or Angela or anyone else to do it.
We're talking like a shaman or a medicine person or another type of psychic?
I feel like if you destroy the knife, then this is over. Because right now she's being given energy and thought. I mean, for God's sakes, Greg was given her name, so that Greg could bring her to life like you would a genie in a bottle, And so if you destroy, as much as I love your guys' idea of burying it, honestly, it needs to be destroyed. How do you destroy something like that? I don't know, like melt it, not even like melt it down and then burn it up or something.
What about taking it out in the ocean and dropping it at the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, well, that would pollute the ocean, but yes. But Greg,
all right.
I almost hit my tooth on a metal freaking straw today.
I'm talking like way down. We want to drown. We want to drown her. Come on.
So I think I somehow the thing just has to be destroyed, because if it's the concern with it being buried is that Greg knows that it's there, knows what it's capable of, knows what's attached to it. Unless you destroy it so it's literally non-existent, it's burned away, however that's possible, like somewhere someone's got to be able to melt it down or something, so that it is gone. Then we can be rid of the genie in the bottle. But until then, everyone is way too tempted at this intriguing energy. And what will she do? What could she, what's she capable of? And that's deadly. I mean, this isn't like a fun and games, and Greg knows that. Wouldn't
the knife or the entity, fight back and say, oh, you don't want to destroy me. You don't want to get rid of me. I mean, would it have that kind of power over him that he wouldn't be able to follow through on destroying it?
The fact that Greg what has been made clear is, like, Greg has showed his dominance by listening to his wife. If he ignored his wife and was like, you know what, she doesn't know, she doesn't believe in this stuff, she doesn't know what she's talking about, he would have fed her. But because he was like, okay, and he is right now the master of the genie in the bottle, she was like, okay, I'm not allowed to do that. It's kind of like not that I believe we are masters over animals by any means, but when you're training a dog, one of you has to be the alpha. And that's the feeling, is he showed her that he was the alpha, not her. And so she's like, okay, well, call me when you're ready. It's like, call me when you're ready to what? Murder someone? She's like, yeah. Like, that's her job. Wow. So she was, Angela, you said, what was the time frame you saw her in? Viking, did you say?
Well, yes. I see her like being attached to Norse mythology or hiding behind Norse mythology, particularly the goddess Hela.
Yeah.
The goddess Hel, that we actually get the word hell from. We get our English word hell from the goddess Hel.
Okay.
Goddess Hel.
Yeah.
Maybe attached. maybe attached, but the dating of the knife is just pre-1943, someplace between 1936 and 1943 by the manufacturer that made it. The manufacturer's name's on there, so.
Yeah, but she is. Someone called her in at some point, and she used the knife as the attachment. What I think is, but when she's from, that's what I was feeling like, because I don't know mythology, but that's exactly what I was feeling. But I was also feeling like that's the interesting thing, Angela, is like when you said Hella, it's like I can't do anything to her. I can't remove her. I'm not allowed to do anything to her. So there's this permanence she has that is beyond all of us. And that's what was a little nerve-wracking when I was engaging with her, because there was nothing that you could do with her. And so her permanence that lined up to what you said, Angela, because she is who she is, and there is no removing her. And there is no dealing with her. You have to remove the object that she has associated herself with and remove it. You know, like I said, like don't just bury it. Like anyone that has any awareness of where that object is will call that spirit in and manage it.
I really feel like that this this knife force that needs to be returned to the forge, melted down, and then the melted down material returned to the earth. I keep feeling like he has to be returned to the earth. To the earth.
Yeah.
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Okay, so you destroy the knife. Could she jump to a different object? I mean, just the curio cabinet thing or something like that. Or once you destroy it, she's gone. I'm just wondering if she would be able to.
She has to be summoned. She has to be summoned.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Mm-hmm. She's not one of these like, dark energies that are jumping around, harassing people, grabbing at people. She's very specific. Who is my master? Who, and whether a master in that moment, but just like Angela said, because I was hearing the exact same thing Angela heard when she was saying it, she has to be summoned. And this isn't a game.
And what's interesting is you talk about it seeing me as a master. And my only, and understand what I want you to understand about me is this is really irrelevant, but I'm a Christian man and I'm filled with the Holy Spirit. And so that is where the perhaps no fear dominance comes from, because I believe that I can't be affected because of what is within me, and that's just me. I'm not coming to push anything at anybody, but this is what I believe. So interesting to me that it might see me as a master, and if it does, that is why.
That makes sense, and I think I appreciate that. I also want to stress that, like as you mentioned earlier, there's no coincidences. No. It's not a coincidence that all of that took place. It's not a coincidence that you wanted that knife and then the friend took it but couldn't keep it, because who knows what would have happened if it ended up in other hands. And you have been able to stabilize this situation for all these years because of what you just expressed. And I feel like this is those, kind of those paranormal moments that everyone is like looking for because it's so intense and so fascinating. But for me, the flip side is you don't F with this. Like, this is not funny. And now here's the thing. If Greg said to me, listen, I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not doing it. I'm not getting rid of it. oh, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, we're all doomed. I would be like, okay, I mean, I trust you, and I can feel you, and I know that you only have good intentions. But
what about the danger for his wife, though?
There's a caveat there. And the only way I can express the caveat is that because she cannot be removed or destroyed, this isn't you're being warned, Greg. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like, you know, you tell your kids not to play chicken in the street, and you warn them and they still do it, and something happens. Like, it's like, well, no one warned me. No one warned you up until now. Up until this moment, you have been guided and taken care of, and you did all the right stuff for whatever reason. And what's so interesting is how many times this interview got pushed back, because you were supposed to be on the show with us back in December or November, and it kept getting pushed back and kept getting pushed back. But all I can tell you now is that I'm being told you've been warned. And no matter how strong you are, she's stronger. And she has no intention of manipulating, messing with. That's not what she does. She doesn't mess with. She doesn't manipulate. But you have a neighbor who might not be fully of sound mind and is looking to do harm. You're going to get caught up in that somehow.
Oh, wow.
And that's where they say, you've done everything right. You are accurate with what you're saying. You are protected. You are. But this is stronger than all of us. So enjoy your night, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I would say I absolutely do not doubt, or put it this way, the feelings that I have from the dagger are that, yes, it is something of great power, but yet docile. And so I've always felt that way. Docile, something of great power, something that somehow connected with me. And so that falls exactly in line with what you're saying, basically.
And I think that there's something interesting about, I want to just take a minute to look at what you said, because I think, Greg, that you know who you are as a spiritual being. You understand your abilities intuitively. You were tasked with this, and you have been presented with this being. They're asking you to disconnect the being from the knife. The knife is nothing. It's no different than the knife in your drawer that you use to cut your salad with. This knife is nothing. The attachment to the knife is what you are expressing, and I know you know that. That the connection that you have to her and to this situation is personal, and something that you will continue to explore even once the knife is gone. But know that she is always going to, I want to say she's always going to be there, because she is part of you discovering you and your abilities in it psychically and spiritually. And I don't mean she's always going to be with you like an attachment or in a bad way, but it's like we all have dark and light, and we all have power within that dark and light. And because you stand so clear in your light, you can have an energy that comes at that's dark, and it be okay. What they're trying to express is that it's no longer needed for you to learn this and know this, because once you have learned and understand who you are, what you do with that can affect your daily living. So, quick example, once I discovered that I had the ability to not just remove a being, but actually disintegrate a being so that it had to, this, energy had to come back different. It couldn't be that same anymore. That came with a lot of kind of sitting quietly with, well, that's a huge responsibility. What does that mean? And what do I do with that? And how do I use, when do I use it? And all of those questions are just answered when I do the work. But the exact same thing is happening to you, where you're being shown that you have this presence that you can not work with, but go, and I don't want to say go up against, because you're not, but just to be, it's like you can be in the same room with the Grim Reaper and the Grim Reaper won't come after you. That's kind of what's happening. This, you will be asked to use that energy, not her. You will be asked to use your energy that you learned about by her being around one day and probably many times over. But moving forward, the story around this is done because it will start to infiltrate your life. And instead, we want it to infiltrate your spiritual abilities, making you clearer, stronger, more aware. I can't even put it into words yet, but that transformation will start to take place once you cut the ties with her, because now you're saying, listen, I don't need a knife to know who I am and to know that I can be in the room with you and to know that we can do this and be okay. I don't need that knife and I don't need you around me. I just know now who I am. And I know now what I can do. Not saying that this would be specifically what happens, but for example, you'll start working in a way similar to me and Angela. It won't be that you won't work the way I do. You won't work the way Angela does. You'll work the way you do. And that's what you learned from her. That's why this experience happened to you. So that now you take your work to the next level. What does that mean? What does that look like? I don't know. You are going to find that out. And so you no longer need any of this story to now be this person and do these things. These opportunities are going to come to you and you're going to go, whoa, oh, I can do that. Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Since I try to view everything very scientifically, when it comes to anything paranormal, I try to push that stuff off. And I realized that, you can only push it off for so long. But yet I try to keep that sort of mentality with anything paranormal, scientific, period. And it's hard, I have to say. It's actually very difficult to do that because the emotion of it all finds its way.
Because you have to understand that paranormal is spirit.
Yes.
Paranormal, and if we are denying who we are as spiritual beings first, yes, that is painful. And 90% of society spends their day in and day out denying that they are spiritual beings first because they cannot make sense of it, because they cannot make logic of it. So they deny it. And what that does is causes health problems, emotional problems, physical problems. And you cannot make sense of this ridiculous story I just told everybody. I heard all the words coming out of my mouth and was like, you know what? If I heard someone else saying that, I'd laugh at it. Because there's nothing sensical about spirit. And when you spend your time making sense of it, you are wasting your time. Instead, spend your time knowing who you are as a spiritual being and knowing that that exists. Whether you believe it or not, it exists. Period. End of story. And you know that. So
yeah, for me, yeah, definitely. I mean, I know it exists, and I understand that. And like I said, I have a lot of peace in my heart about that. But yet I'm amazed at the things that you fine ladies brought to me. I'm really actually really amazed and happy that you brought that to me. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that dagger, but I have a feeling several broken up pieces inside that box would look pretty good. You know, well, it'd kind of be cool. You know, there it is, broken up in a bunch of pieces, and that's a possibility. Just want you to know, it's a strong possibility.
That's a fascinating story.
Because when I'm gone, I don't know who then is responsible for.
No one's responsible for this. I can't stress that enough. No one is responsible for this. What you are feeling possession over is something else. And I can't stress enough how important it is that you don't pass this thing along. I mean, if you die, you put it in your will that it needs to be destroyed. You can't send this out to the world. The possession you're feeling is the connection to the spirit world and the connection to the spirit, which is okay. But that's Angela, I saw that you were drawing still. Did you add to it?
Yeah, I was just working on finishing the drawing here, but I also picked up another attachment attached to you specifically, Greg. That's an unhealthy attachment. And I believe Rick is going to show you what I painted, because there's a close-up detail of the portrait and also a full size, the rest of the portrait.
Well, since I don't want to skirt any getting in important details, I was going to ask Greg to hang around after the show. We're really tight on time, so I didn't want to try to cram that discussion in. We'll just do that offline afterwards. Okay. But in the remaining moments that we do have, Greg, any other thoughts, as well as what are you up to, giving folks an opportunity to be able to connect with you and know what's going on with you these days?
I appreciate it. Well, you know, I do want to know what Gwen thinks, though. Okay.
Hello, Gwen.
I want to know what Gwen's opinion is of this whole thing up there. Okay. So
I'm loving.
I'm going to eat the knife.
So it's Ghost Inspector Greg at Instagram, ghostinspectorgreg.com. Coming soon. I'm kind of slow. I have a book. I have a book that's really slow. My book will be out soon. It's called Night at the Haunted Museum, and it's going to be based on all of these strange experiences that I've had, not only through my life, but on that night when I investigated Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum with his team. Things that happened there, things that I met there, entities, crazy stuff, and that's what that book will be about. And it'll also tie something very incredible into Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum, and it's not nice, but it's another coincidence. It all falls right into place, and it's really something rather amazing. And so be looking for that. It's a couple of months away, for sure. Cool. But in the meantime, please, Ghost Inspector Greg at Instagram. We put a lot of effort into that, and we try to do a lot of fun stuff. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, I'm going to work. I'm a geotechnical engineer, and I'll be out there in the morning.
All right.
Awesome. Well, my goodness, this has been a jam-packed show. So
yeah, mind-blowing, man. Whoa. Not what I expected.
You know, basically the whole show was a remote viewing and also some insights there. So, Greg, if you can hang around for a few moments and we can talk.
Absolutely. I'd just like to say, Maryam and Angela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I very much appreciated your insight. Thank you.
Awesome. And thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight. We will see you next week.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Darren.
Have a good night.
Good night.